Today we're going to be tying up a Calvin shrimp, but using a wee bit more red than normal. So as you can see, we're using a partridge patriot red hook. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is add on our rib and our tag. So I'm going to use gold wire this time. I'm going to just tuck that in underneath. Just run our thread up to the hook points. Then I'm going to take the gold wire and use 3 or 4 turns above. And then on the last wrap, just tuck it in underneath. Okay. A few turns to secure that in. Going up towards the eye. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this back. And again, as always, if you're using wire, you can always use the tinsel as well, but it's just a bit more durable. This is quite a bigger hook as well I'm using for a change. Okay, so I haven't actually tied that right up to the tag because I don't want to put thread wraps on because I want the tag to kick up the tail later on. So speaking of the tail then, it's in 3 parts. So the first part we're going to use is red Arctic runner. Okay, so for this part, each part's slightly different. Probably the biggest part of the tail is the first part. So we're gonna got a wee bit of fluff there. We're gonna remove our guard hairs and keep our underfur on, because this is going to give a wee bit of support. Normally I would remove the underfur if it was a wing, for example. And for lengthwise, probably want about the length of the hook or length of the shank, a little bit more or less. Personal preference, but it's what I go for anyway. Okay, once you've got that secured, you can use your flice. So in this case I'm going to use a bit of copper crystal flice. Gold crystal flice works well too. Okay, so I'm just going to take that off. A few strands, we've got about 3 strands here, so I'll just secure that in at the centre. Okay, lengthwise probably about the length, if not a wee bit longer than that first part of the tail. This is quite stiff for flice, so again it's going to give a wee bit more support for the longer section of the tail. And the longer section of the tail is the mid section, which is going to be orange runner. So I'm lifting a smaller piece off, cutting it, and then I'm going to remove the underfur to give more mobility. I'm going to keep the guard hairs on. Okay, so I want it from the main fur area. I want it to probably be about twice the length of that first layer. A few turns secured in, have a look. Okay, and I'm happy with that. You know, see there's a few guard hairs adding a wee bit more shape to it. I'm going to take a few more guard hairs. So probably 3 just off this patch. I'm going to add them on top as well. So they're extra long, but it just gives it a nicer profile. And if you can imagine it bouncing in the water, you get this lovely effect. Okay. So that's the second part of the tail, and then I'm going to add on another bit of flice, but it's something a bit more mobile. So I've just got gold craft fibres here, work really well for this. Okay, I probably lifted out too many here, but it's cheap anyway, so don't mind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the weight of the bobbin, bring that in, and then secure that in on top. Okay, and then I'm going to use my scissors. And I don't want it all being this uniform, so I'm going to just put pressure points in my scissors at different parts. So as you can see, they cut off at different parts of the tail. Okay, up to the length of the tail. So that'll blend in very nicely. Okay, and then the final part is going to be your pink or magenta, if you can get it, Arctic runner. So I find it hard to get the right colour of pink runner, so if anybody does know a good supplier, write it in the comments below. Or I would love to even over dye this, or know anybody that can, because it's very pale pink, but it still works. Quite fixing, okay, fish on it. So there we go. For this one, I'm going to remove the guard hairs and the underfur. So again, slightly different, and I've probably put on a wee bit too much, so I'm going to thin this out a wee bit more. Okay, and essentially this top and bottom piece is securing the longer piece in the middle. So this is going to be about the same length as that bottom piece. Few turns to secure it and have a look. And then once you're happy, I normally just wet the tail just to have one final look. and then I run that thread up to the tag. Because it's quite a thick tag, it'll actually kick up that tail. Because it's a thick tag, it'll kick up that tail, as you can see there. So that's me actually pushing it down. It's still naturally wanting to kick up, so that'll reduce the amount of tail wraps you have. Then I'm going to cut my excess, trying to give a bit of a taper to the body there as we're cutting it, and then just neaten it up with the thread wraps. Okay, and we already have our rib, so all we need to do is just double on our body. So it's a mixer dubbing for this, so I'm going to use, what I use is 20%, which I think is close to the original, if not the original, 20% light bright yellow and 80% red dubbing, red fur dubbing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit on and bring that thread back. And then I've got a good anchor. I can twist and I can actually hold the thread as opposed to the bobbin and start wrapping if I wanted. Or if I wanted it more splayed out, I could actually wrap it with the bobbin. It's entirely up to yourself. Okay. And I think this colour looks fantastic in peach stained water. Okay, be sure to give yourself plenty of headroom as well, because you have a couple of hackles and a wing coming on. Okay, and then just follow up the body with 4 or 5 wraps of your rib. Okay, the original had Mirage, but I prefer to use the tinsel or wire because Mirage doesn't last too long whenever a fish takes a fly. And then just twist off, if you're using wire, twist off the wire. Okay, so you can see that's a nice Calvin colours and shape already starting to form. For the wing, I use hot orange fox. This is fox pelt. I prefer the pelt because it's a little bit more mobile than teal. Okay, and it's also straighter as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the bite tips and remove the underfur. Okay, then I'm going to hold it at the base and try and remove quite a few of these guard hairs. If I was using a smaller, like size 15 Calvin, which you fish quite regularly, I'd try and remove as many of those guard hairs as possible. And you'll know the guard hairs on the fox pelt because they're a wee bit shinier, so they're stiffer. But I'm going to keep a few in here because it's quite a big fly. Okay, in terms of length, you want it to go probably to the back of the hooks, or maybe a wee bit more, and that means it'll join in the tail. So you'll naturally have the wing hitting the first section of the tail and then the longer section, so it'll give a nice profile. Okay, so I'm going to just do a pinch and loop to secure this in. A few wraps. Have a look. I'm happy with that there, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet that excess just so I can get a cleaner cut. Okay. Then just a few more turns to just neaten up the head as you go along. Okay. Now then, a lot of people do this at the end for eyes, but I prefer to put them on each side of the wing, as using jungle cock. Okay, so I have a few feathers prepared here. And a couple of turns to start with, just to see how they look. Okay, just like them quite uniform on each side. Okay, so I'm happy with that there. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of super glue. On probably about an inch of the thread. Which I mean that jungle cock will never slip out. Okay. as well as that, that's giving a wee bit of extra security to the wing as well at the same time. Then I just trim off our excess. Okay, and there's anything else, just trim away at as well. Okay, so now it's time for the hackles. So there's 2 hackles for this, and they're oversized hackles on the Calvins and Parks. So I've got hot orange to start with, and I just break off the tip and expose a few fibres. Then I'm going to wax my thread, and where I broke off that tip, I'm securing the thread, securing the hackle in there, and drawing those fibres back. And that means that stalk's tied in twice. And then we just need to double our fibres back, so that's just running the scissors into the stalk using the blunt side. Okay. So we'll do a few turns here. Probably 2 turns will probably be enough. Yeah, I think I'll just do 2. Just at a right angle there, just to secure that in. Anything going forward, just a wee wrap backwards. Okay, then we've got red badger hackle as well. And this is ever so slightly smaller than the first hackle, but it's still oversized. Unlike the Cascade, for example, which hackle points usually go to the hackle usually goes to the hook points. Okay, and again I've secured that in the same way, doubling it back, give that extra hold. And again, just training those fibres to point inwards. Get a nice neat hackle for winding on. Okay, so we're going to do 2 wraps again. So because I know I'm only going to do 2 this time, I can actually trim off the excess this earlier stage just by holding the hackle and securing it. That'll give me a neater finish. Okay. And again, just use your thread in at 90 degrees angle. Don't worry if you knock a fibre too forward here, because we're still neating up our head anyway. Okay, and then a few turns just to start building up that head for security. And then whip finish. And that's your extra red Calvin shrimp, folks. So I'm looking forward to giving this a go. Red's a great colour for this time of the year. I think it looks really well on this hook. If you know any other patterns that go well on these red hooks, let me know, because I have a few of them here but I've never really used them. Hopefully you found that useful, folks. As always, if you did, hit the like button below, send us a wee comment if you want, and check out the other videos coming up on screen now. Thanks very much, all the best.